I'm John Casey. I'm author of the book The Non-Profit World, Civil Society and the Rise of the Non-Profit Sector. The book looks at the expansion of non-profits around the world, within countries, contacts between non-profits in different countries, and also the rise of international non-profits, those organisations created specifically to work across borders. I've created this series of videos to look at questions raised by the book and issues in the book. Let's go with the video. The question today is there a difference between non-profit, civil society, third sector, social enterprises? They're all terms we hear, but are there differences between them? The short answer is yes, there are some conceptual differences, but there's a huge overlap and most people use them interchangeably, particularly when we add the word organisations. So what's the difference between non-profit organisations, civil society organisations, third sector organisations, and social enterprises? Let's quickly look at the different emphasis of the terms. So non-profit organisations emphasises that people aren't there to make money, personal profit. Non-profit organisations can generate a large income, but nobody can take it home for their own personal profit. Civil society focuses on that conceptual space between government, between businesses, this space in which people organise themselves independent of government. And we're focusing on that civil part of society. Third sector looks more at organisations and how they structure themselves. So the first sector is government, second sector is business, third sector is non-profit organisations. And the idea is that each of these three sectors and the organisations in them have different structures and different logics for the way they operate. Finally, the term social enterprise. That suggests a business approach. And while yes, there are some social enterprises that are businesses, or for-profit businesses, shall we say, in fact, the large majority of non-profit organisations, of social enterprises are in fact non-profit organisations. They're either created directly as non-profit organisations or they are businesses with affiliated non-profit organisations. In addition to these words, there's a whole lot of other terms we often see. Non-governmental organisations, NGOs, community-based, philanthropic, voluntary, charities, social movement, associations, 501c3, that's the designation we use in the United States to classify these organisations, and we talk about benevolent organisations. So it's important to understand that yes, each of these terms are slightly different, but in fact we use them interchangeably, and it really depends on what is the linguistic fashion in that country and in the country in which you're talking, and what term you prefer and feel more comfortable with. Here's some examples. So, in the United Kingdom, under the Labour government, there used to be a Cabinet Office of the Third Sector. When a Conservative coalition came into power in 2010, they changed the name of that office from the Cabinet Office of the Third Sector to Cabinet Office for Civil Society. Same office, okay, slightly different ideological bent, but it's still the same office. The other example is the word non-governmental organisation, or NGO. We're familiar with that term. And in theory, any organisation that doesn't belong to government, your local community centre, is a non-governmental organisation. But we tend not to use the term NGO for those organisations. NGO, in the minds of many people, have come to be those large international aid and humanitarian organisations. And in fact, it's taken on an almost negative connotation in some parts of the world. People like to say, oh, we're not an NGO, we're a small, local, grassroots organisation. Why? Simply, again, because of linguistic fashion. That's all there is for today. Thank you for listening. If you're interested in these issues, see Chapters 1 and Chapter 2 of my book, The Non-Profit World, The Rise of Civil Society and the Non-Profit Sector. It's published by Lynn Reiner Press. Look for it at the publisher's site or at your favourite bookstore.